G'day, it's Jamie, and welcome to Tantanilla Tigers. Today, I'm reading an old newspaper report about big cat or Thylacine or Thylacoleo sightings at the Dargo High Plains, Victoria in the 1930s. So we'll get into it. This was published in the Sydney Morning Herald on Saturday, the 3rd of August, 1946, titled Our Gippsland Tiger by R.L. Crivelli. Another promising bush legend was destroyed when the Yingari lion, which had been striking terror into the inhabitants of Maryborough district in Queensland, turned out last week to be a rather outsized cross between a dingo, a collie and a fox. Some years before the war, hair-raising stories of a creature of monstrous proportions and fearsome aspect emanated from an isolated little hamlet in the Gippsland Hills, and two of us decided to set out on safari for a few days, armed with our heaviest rifles and a good supply of stores and ammunition. The first step was to recontour the country, small grassy valleys among scrub-covered foothills, with close behind the mountain ranges, stretching for a mile of heavily timbered and roadless mountain, up to the Dargo High Plains, seldom visited between the annual cattle musters. Ideal cover for any creature in search of peace and quiet. In fact, there are some people who would tell you a few years ago that an entire tribe of Aborigines had withdrawn into these mountains and still lived in hiding among the deep valleys. The obvious starting point was a farm, backed by a long stretch of scrub, where several sheep had been killed and the tiger had been seen by a farmer early one morning, a few days previously. He showed us where, on the far side of the creek, he had observed it making its way swiftly athwart the grassy hillside, looming huge and tawny in the early morning light. The men of the district organised a beat through the bush the next day, armed with the best weapons they could muster. But they did not come up with the monster. Two of them, it is true, came across tracks of a formidable size on a patch of soft ground, but they did not follow these, nor did they notify the rest of the party. Instead, they went quickly home. Whatever the others may have had to say about it later, and apparently they said a good deal, this was a certainty, a discreet decision, for the two tiger hunters carried only shotguns. We had even less success. We quartered that piece of scrub with all the patience one would devote today to the search for a lost golf ball, but found not even tracks. Next place of call was a few miles farther back into the ranges, where a barely practicable road petered out at a little slab dwelling with weatherboard additions comprising farmhouse, store and post office, serving heaven knows what dwellers among the tall timber. Here the creature had manifested itself in the dead of night. It had come roaring up the gully, so we were told, and the inhabitants had barricaded themselves within doors, not daring to stir abroad until full daylight. The Gippsland Hills have a quality all of their own, and although we were far from the haunted hills, where, so to say, drovers will not camp at night because the cattle will invariably stampede, this hollow, flooded through it was with summer sunlight, seemed a fitting abode for the bunyip. On the right, dense green bracken climbed from the creek to the crest of an almost vertical hillside, and 200 yards in front the forest faced us with an impenetrable wall of tall timber and dense undergrowth. As we stood in the noon hush, broken only by the murmur of the creek, we felt no urge to investigate more closely, and decided that the inhabitants showed sound common sense in refusing to stir abroad after dark. So we returned to more open country, and went to call upon Mr. de Lacy O'Halloran, who, with two comrades, eked out a somewhat mysterious existence in a one-room dwelling which appeared to have been dropped at random among the gum saplings and rank grass. We were, as always, most hospitably received, and were regaled with pannikins of bushman's tea and remarkable accounts of the marvels and mysteries of the ranges. As a social occasion, the visit was a success, but we did not feel that it brought us much closer to our tiger. We therefore began another search of the scrub in a new direction, working towards a bush road, where the creature had been encountered by a local resident as he rode homeward on his bicycle in the evening. The narrow track curved gently through the trees at this point, and his description of the animal as he suddenly met it face to face, trotting swiftly towards him along the road, was most vivid. Its gleaming eye, heavy head, and small round furry ears made so deep an impression upon him that he fell off his bicycle. He arrived home in safety, but for all our questions, we were unable to fill in the hiatus. This was as close as we ever got to our tiger, whose career had all the markings of a truly awe-inspiring reign of terror. But it was cut short a month or so later by a farmer who slew, in pro-sale fashion, a dingo of huge proportions, and thereafter peace reigned once more. The end. Well, that's really interesting. I'd love to know what they're seeing, whether they're seeing like a dingo, as they said, was killed at the end, or were they seeing like a big cat of some descriptor, or a thylacine, or a Thylacoleo? One bloke who saw it said it was looming huge and tawny. The bloke on the bicycle that scared him, he said it had a gleaming eye, a heavy head, and small round furry ears. And then when they were out hunting for the thing, and at first two of the blokes saw tracks of a formidable size on a patch of soft ground, and they didn't follow them, and they just went home because they only had shotguns. And then when they got to the hut and stayed there for a while, the people there at the hut told them that one night it came roaring up the gully, and it scared them so much that they barricaded themselves within doors. I wish I had seen what they were seeing, and I wish I knew what they were seeing, whether it was a big cat, thylacine, or a Thylacoleo. Okay, that's it for me. I'll get back to you all next time. Bye.